Welcome to the Denver Protests podcast. Today is Sunday, August 3rd, 2025. Thank you all so much for being here with us. I am here with my co-hosts, Constant Gardner.
Hello.
Hey. And Bug.
Hey, hi.
Hiya. So there was a relatively large demonstration this past weekend. Rage Against the Regime, if I have that right. I have that right?
You have that right. You do indeed.
How do we feel about, what band is that a play on? Rage Against the Machine?
Rage Against the Machine.
How do we feel about them? Because I know they were kind of like I remember in like 2016, they were like kind of a focal point of like resistance messaging, and then they kind of weren't, and now I don't really have strong opinions about them, but do we as a collective have a strong opinion about Rage Against the Machine?
Rage fucking rules.
All right. Shit. Okay.
Those who know me know that I don't like what I like to call yelly music, where people are screaming a lot. So it definitely falls into that category sometimes, a lot of the time. But so Tom Morello, the lead singer of Rage, is, they have been very, very political since the 90s, loudly political. I believe they've been vocally pro-Palestine since the 90s, which is, very admirable. And Tom Morello has been out in the streets during the LA protests, the ICE protests in LA. Like, I saw pictures of him with just like random LA fans holding a sign that says "Defend LA," which like just gives me chills. And they made like one of their albums was called "The Battle for Los Angeles." So he's like they're a very LA based band and have always been very political. And I believe the beef in 2016 was that Paul Ryan was like a big Rage fan and was like, talking about how he uses them to like work out.
Oh my God.
And Tom Morello
yes. Holy shit.
And Tom Morello was like, fuck you. We don't want you as our fan. You are the machine we are raging against. And then I think Trump may have tried to use one of their songs at his rally, or Paul Ryan tried to use it at his rally. And basically Rage was like, we will sue the shit out of any Republican that tries to fucking use our music, because you are literally the machine. So like Rage is one of in terms of politics, one of the greatest bands of our time. Unending, uncritical support to Tom Morello, and he also has a lot of base takes on Twitter still. So yeah, we love them. Their music can be a little intense for me, but I do like Killing in the Name,
as they say.
And yeah, Killing in the Name is one of the signature songs of Notes of Dissent, who I'm sure we will be talking about further. So I am very pro Rage, I guess, is my long answer.
I love that. That's, well, yeah, I figured that, I know them from their Saturday Night Live thing from like the 90s, where they had this whole thing about like not wanting to have American flags displayed, or they were going to display them, and I don't think they were going to burn them, but they were going to do something with American flags. And there was this whole like big kerfluffle because I think the episode that they were hosting, or that they were playing on, was being hosted by Steve Forbes, like the Forbes magazine guy, which is weird that he was hosting SNL. But no, and then they like had this whole thing where they like ripped the flags down during the performance, and they weren't invited, like they'll never be invited back to SNL for that. So that's really honestly how I know Rage Against the Machine. Besides also them being like, I forgot about that Paul Ryan bullshit though. A fucking nerd that guy was.
Yeah, that dude's a loser. He's gone, right? I haven't seen or heard from him.
Yeah, what the fuck happened to Paul Ryan?
Hopefully he's dead, but
that would be nice.
I don't think he's dead, but we'll put that out into the universe.
Died during this recording. That would be fucked up. I hope he doesn't die for real during this recording, because then that would mean that we have powers that we're not capable of wielding. But so the protest that happened this weekend was Rage Against the Regime. And Bug, I know you were down there in the mix. What was our on the ground gumshoe style reporting like?
Um, it it was a protest.
Hell yeah.
I don't really feel like it lived up to the Rage Against the Regime vibe. The turnout was pretty low for like a Saturday a Saturday protest that I thought had good like I feel like they were pushing it like to
It
get
had a
Yes.
people
long
there.
runway. I feel like it had a lot of like it was a fairly well publicized event, personally.
I
Yes.
thought so too. And then I was actually out there flyering for a different event that I'm helping organize later this month. And I got the feedback multiple times that they just found out about it like in the last couple of days. So I don't know, I guess different circles of people have different levels of advertising happening to them, I guess. Which I mean, it makes sense that we'd be in tune because we're plugged into all the protest shit. Whereas people who haven't joined an organization or don't stay on the up and up on upcoming protests did not know, which I think goes back to the point that we've talked about a couple times in the past about how we really have to be organizing beyond protests. Like,
Correct.
yeah, just getting on an email list to show up to a protest once a month or every other month is not gonna break the machine.
It
The
is
machine
not.
will keep functioning if we don't genuinely start organizing beyond like beyond just marching. I mean, like just realistically. Like I said, the turnout was pretty poor. It's probably like 400 people for the rally itself. And then when we actually marched, it was like 150 people.
Damn, that is low.
Yeah, for a Saturday, like a noon on a Saturday. And the weather wasn't too bad. Like it was warm, but it wasn't like stiflingly hot. Um,
Yeah, that's not a great sign. I mean, that I feel like I went to several Palestine protests back in 2023, early 2024 in the Biden administration, and those were definitely more than 150 people marching.
mhm.
So for that to be a 50-51 march is pretty low. I wonder if, it's like I wonder if people there was so much energy and excitement around it. I think back around the election. But yeah, I feel like when you do just marches without much else in between, that can only go so far, and people will start to feel like they're not, progress isn't being made, which I think is a fair takeaway. Yeah, 150, that's pretty low. When I saw that number, I thought the 150 number was for the other protests that happened later. Like I think the 50-51 Rage Against the Regime was like Rage Against the Regime was like noon to 4, and then there was like another sort of unaffiliated untitled protest that went at 5. So when I heard 150, I assumed that was for that one. I didn't realize that was for the quote unquote big one. So
Yup. They honestly kind of blended together, like in my just experience. I mean, I wasn't down there until 5. I had to leave. But I know the people who were like running, the later one, they were there, by like some of them were there for the 50-51 protest too, just to like be on the ground, I guess. Um, and yeah, it just kind of all blended together. And um they actually weren't even going to march 50-51. First they changed the time like 2 days before. Instead of being 12 to 4, it was just 12 to 2. But then
okay.
but we didn't even start marching until like 1:30, and so we didn't even get back to the Capitol until almost 3. So obviously we blew over like their time that they changed it to. But The whole day was just kind of a mess. It was kind of a mess. I'm not gonna lie.
Hmm. Hmm.
I had a great day personally because I was flyering for an event that I'm involved in later this month, and I think we got the information to pretty much everybody, and like the march we marched up 17th and then we marched back down 16th Street from Union Station, and so there were a good amount of people out. And if I saw somebody like clapping or engaging with the protest in a positive way, I was just like, hey, we're doing this protest later this month. Come back out. Or come join us. Don't just, spend your weekends shopping and eating.
I love that. That's very great grassroots organizing there, grassroots recruiting.
Yeah.
Excellent work.
Yeah. So that was the big positive, in my opinion, of the day, at least for me. Um, Notes of Dissent was there. They were the back of the march. They kept us going with music, which was very lovely because I think those are just great people. And I think there is a lot to be said about bringing music into the movement. Whether it's, the more modern protest music a la Rage Against the Machine, or it's, more traditional like civil rights era or slavery era songs of freedom and liberation.
Yeah, I think music is super important, and I do in a protest, and I think that is one thing that I was in New Orleans in October, and I just like looked out my window and there was a random Palestine protest on a Saturday night at Bourbon and Canal, and they had, it's New Orleans, so they were, they had like a decent drum line. Even it was a very small protest, but like it really changes the vibe, and so I feel like this is, one area that maybe we struggle with a little bit in Denver is our collective whiteness, and we don't have like enough music. So I'm really glad that we have Notes of Dissent out there bringing the tunes, because I do think that it makes a big difference with like morale and just like moving the march forward and stuff. So
Hell yeah. No, love Notes of Dissent. I think it's so cool that this organization has been able to coalesce and get out to so many places and be such like a functioning, cohesive group of people in, I think, a relatively short amount of time. That really shows that like the genuine power of, like, again, we talk about this all the time, but like organizing and building community and meeting people in real life and like getting together, and like the level of like structure and kind of organizational know-how that they have is really cool to see. I know that there was some police presence down there yesterday. Based on the pictures that I saw, it looked like they were pretty tuned up. Saw some riot cops and all that jazz, and I think there were some people that were hit by cars. Is that right?
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
2 cars drove through a line of protesters that were trying to hold the street and shut down the street. And 2 vehicles decided they don't give a shit about human life and their right to, or their perceived right to, keep going is greater than, somebody's right to protest. And like, newsflash, it's fucking not. Like, hitting people with your car in the vast majority of situations is fucked up, and you should be ashamed of yourself if you do that shit.
Seriously, like fucking car culture is so like whatever. It's like you don't have the right to fucking mow down pedestrians because you're in a hurry. Like whether you agree with the protests or not, like people just get this sense of entitlement when they're in their car, and yeah, we hate to see it. I don't know if they were like explicitly anti, were they like MAGA people in the cars, or were they just like pissed off people who wanted you to get out of the street? Like to me that was unclear.
Yeah, I don't think that's clear to anybody. I will say, blocking a street is a fucking misdemeanor, and hitting somebody with your car is fucking attempted vehicular manslaughter, which is a felony.
Right.
So, like, for all the people on that side of the aisle that like to decry undocumented immigrants for being criminals, um, maybe don't commit felonies with your vehicles trying to kill people. Like, maybe don't do that.
Right. The hypocrisy of it all.
Yes, yes. Um,
But people are okay, right? Like there weren't any serious injuries, right?
As far as
From
I've heard, no,
right.
nobody was seriously injured. I did see like the end result of like the bigger, because there was like one of the cars was an SUV. The Denver 7 did a story about it, and they showed the sedan, like they covered the sedan that slowly drove through the protesters. They did not cover the giant fucking SUV that did not slowly go through the protesters and hit, I think, 3 people at least. So
Wow. Okay. Well, what was up with that journalistic choice?
yeah, well, and then immediately after the protest story, they launched into a story about undocumented immigrants that had, you know, the slant you would expect of bigots. So I think that's
Great.
probably where Denver 7 is coming from. And I think we need to remember that the media are not our allies.
Correct. Right. They're going to show, we were talking about this in the Discord. They're going to show the things that are aligned with the narrative that they want to push. And sometimes that is the same narrative that we're pushing, but a lot of times it's not. So yeah, that's a disappointing choice that they left out the car that was, driving more recklessly. I can't imagine what the reason would be to do that.
The idea of like a car ramming a protest is one of the things that I think whenever I'm out there gives me the most like concern, because I mean I'm sure we've all seen of dozens, scores, hundreds of incidents of stuff like this happening that, like, luckily it sounds like the ones that happened yesterday were not no one was like seriously hurt, but like it could so easily have gone a different way. And I feel like that is one of the more, I don't want to necessarily say realistic threats, but one of the more present threats that when I'm, out there, I'm like, oh shit, like it would, if somebody with a, Ford F-150 with a lift kit took a notion, like they could do some serious damage,
Absolutely. I mean, I very narrowly missed getting run over by a car on 225 back in 2020, a Jeep that busted through the line that we had and sped through. And I have like some pretty bad PTSD from that. And it is definitely, I think, the most realistic and scariest threat when you're out at a protest is getting mowed down by a car. Absolutely. That shit's real fucking scary. I'm glad that nobody was hurt. And yeah, we got to be on the lookout for that. It really is a serious threat. So
Yeah. And the police did nothing to pursue either of the vehicles, despite there being video of both vehicles. And so their information is known to the police, and they instead chose to continue oppressing the protesters.
right, which is what they did when I almost got ran over
Yeah.
too. And that's
Yeah,
when
that
you
guy
said,
never
you're like,
faced justice either.
yeah, you're like, oh, well, it's a felony. It's like, yeah, it's a felony, but like, are the cops gonna give a fuck about it? No, because
Nope.
the law is not fucking real. So
Yep.
like, whatever. Like, yeah, it's a felony, but it doesn't matter if they don't ever face any charges for it. So
Yeah. When the state gets to interpret the law as they see fit, and they deem us to be enemies of the state, the violence that is enacted against us as protesters and activists and leftists is excused by the state.
that's right.
If only we could get the people who are resistant to things like taking the street or occupying space that, quote, legally, unquote, we are not allowed in. Like, y'all have to let that go. Like,
Yeah.
you have to
For
let
real.
that fucking apprehension go.
You're right. Stop worrying about what's legal and what's not legal, because none of that shit is real. Because look at the arrest that happened yesterday. And then the fact that two people literally tried to, run someone over with their car and there was absolutely nothing done by the police. Like, learn from this, people. Like, they're not our friends. They're not here to protect us. And it doesn't really matter what the law is because they choose how they're going to enforce it. So, yeah, get over this whole, permitted protest, have to do things legally thing. It's not doing you any favors.
Yeah. I would also like to point out that just because protesters get arrested, because we had 2 comrades arrested yesterday, does not mean that those charges will go anywhere. In LA, they've arrested like a good handful of people, and they're trying to do what they're doing to one of our locals, which is charge them with felonies that are just nonsensical and not in line with the actual people's actions at protests. And now what's happening is they are having to drop those charges and abandon those cases, or they're just outright losing in court because the law isn't actually on their side. And while the police can choose how to enforce things, and while the court system also is not on our side, we are still mostly functioning in the judiciary, and that does tend to go in our favor for our comrades.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like most protest arrests don't end in, the charges get dropped a lot of the time, or people win their cases. And so they do that as an intimidation tactic to try to discourage people from coming out and protesting.
It's very important that we find the courage to not let that be a barrier, but that's
agreed
and done.
Yeah, because going to jail sucks.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's we can co-sign that as a universal podcast stance. Going to jail.
Going to jail
equals
sucks.
bad. Yeah, it's not as good as not going to jail, as they say.
Sure.
So that was our the event yesterday, Rage Against the Regime. Were there any other events from last week that we wanted to quickly shout out or quickly highlight here? I know we had some of the standard ones. We had the Jeanette Visguera vigil, a couple other ones that we wanted to shout out here, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that I know we've talked about in the past as a community and as a podcast and just in general is the effectiveness of marches and what other forms of protest we can do. And we had a great example of that this week. CD7 Watermelon is a local pro-Palestine group, and they actually organized a protest outside of Representative Brittany Patterson's house.
Nice.
To call her out because she has habitually been a supporter of Israel. She has applauded Netanyahu when he's come to address Congress. She does not acknowledge that there's a genocide occurring in Palestine. And that's really fucking disappointing. So they gathered outside of her house and made some noise. And I think we need more of that kind of shit.
Yeah, we used to do more of that kind of outside their house stuff in 2020, and I think it's effective. You'll hear people say that Brittany Peterson, is it Pedersen or Peterson? I don't know, whatever. That lady.
She spells it stupidly.
She spells it stupidly.
Powerfully.
I don't have it right in the show notes, and I didn't care to change it.
It's fine. It's fine. But people will describe her as like one of the good ones because she did do like some advocating for, being like a breastfeeding mother and needing, flying back to do her vote and saying she should have been able to vote remotely. And I agree with her on all of those points, but she's not one of the good ones in the sense that like, there's different levels of Zionists. Like you have like your Diana DeGette types that are like, oh, well, it's really sad what's happening to the Palestinians. But I'm not going to do shit and I'm going to keep taking AIPAC money, which is a shitty, and we don't like those Zionists. But then Brittany is, a level up, which is sort of like, fuck the Palestinians, Israel has the right to defend itself. She's one of those kinds of Zionists. She's not one of the ones that's just like weak on it and says, oh, we're sad that there's so many children starving to death, but nothing we can do. Hand wringing. She's pretty like actively pro genocide.
Like Fetterman-esque almost.
She is
right?
She's very Fetterman coded. Yes.
No, gross.
Without the brain damage, but yeah. So fuck her. Show up at her house and protest.
No, that's a good one to shout out, though, because I agree. I remember the house protests in 2020, sitting outside like DA's houses and yelling at them and banging pots and pans. It feels like it's the level of like, I don't know. It feels like there's a little more purpose to it, a little bit more leverage, like we were talking about. But right on. Okay, sweet. So we had CD7 Watermelon. What other ones from last week? If we want to shout them out.
I think there was kind of a cool thing that happened on Friday. Denver communists for over 2 years now have been hosting a targeted campaign against Drip Cafe, which we've talked about they're Christian extremists, and they are no strangers to having literal Nazis in their establishment as customers. And so Denver Communists has been protesting outside of them on the First Friday Art Walk that happens on Santa Fe for, like I said, over 2 years. And this past Friday, the Colorado Palestine Coalition didn't really join them, but hosted a simultaneous event, which was First Friday Noise Brigade, which was a pro-Palestine event, and they marched like up the art walk. And so, there was like some commingling there between the groups, especially because there are people who are in the Noise Brigade that have been a part of the art walk, and like there's lots of cross-pollination. But it's really cool to have like two simultaneous protests kind of at the same event for different reasons, because it's all the same reason. It just speaks to the intersectionality of the movement and what we have to do as a society to get to a place where everybody can actually, have equal rights and protections.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, on.
I think that's kind of it for the last week.
Right on. Yeah, no, I mean, there was I do feel like we were saying that the Rage Against the Regime, for some reason, those words are falling out of my mouth weird. I don't like the way they sound when I say it.
Twister.
It is kind of.
It's branding. Yeah. Like I saw a criticism of like these like protests, and it's like it feels more like a marketing campaign than anything. And like, yeah, I kind of agree. Like
Right. And I think people were into that at first, and now that's sort of the novelty has worn off, and they're kind of like, okay, like what's the point? So
I do feel like that one, yeah, like we were saying, it occupied a lot of the, like, I feel like there's a lot of attention given to it, but it's nice that there were a couple other, I don't want to say smaller demonstrations, but actions that might not have gotten as much airtime, and they were still happening and they're still going on, and so it's good to kind of give them the attention that they deserve too. So
totally.
That's the week that was. Do we want to move into the meat and potatoes? This is an interesting story that I'd never heard of. Denver. No, it's Do Better Denver, right?
Do Better Denver.
The most passive-aggressive, condescending name that I could imagine, which I think fits so well with their entire thing. I'd never heard of them before. Like, there was a lot of like Denver internet kerfluffle about them. I think kind of stemming from the Denver Post's investigation of this. It's just so funny to me that like the Denver Post is doing this investigation of this, like basically like what if an HOA was an Instagram account?
Oh my
That's
gosh.
literally what if an HOA was an Instagram account?
That is the vibe.
Oh my
That is
God.
the vibes. And then you find out who they are and it makes sense.
It's
So I
fucking
wanted to tell, I've been very aware of Do Better Denver for about 2 years, which is, I believe, how long they've been around. Maybe
They
longer.
mentioned you in the article as one of the leaders of the
Guilty.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm secretly a Republican living in New Mexico. I have pulled one over on all of you people. But no, I'd like to tell a personal story about how Do Better Denver positively impacted my life. Are you ready? So I had this ex-boyfriend that I was kind of hung up on and kind of still in love with. And I would habitually stalk his Instagram page, as one does. It's not healthy. Go to therapy, ladies. But I was doing that, and I looked at his followers and saw that he had followed this account called Do Better Denver. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So I look at it, and it's just like the most hateful, reactionary, just dehumanizing bullshit about homeless people. And for whatever reason, that flipped a switch in my brain, y'all. When I was like, this motherfucker is following this account, I was like, ew, disgusting. That person's values don't align with mine at all. And I am not in love with him. In fact, I am no longer hung up on him. And I swear to God, that was like the starting point of me getting over that ex, was seeing that he was following that account on Instagram and being like, ew. So I guess thanks, Do Better Denver, because when I see that someone follows you, it tells me a lot about who they are and what they stand for, and it's bad. So if you're not familiar with this page, that's pretty much what it is, or at least what it started as, was posting really dehumanizing videos of, homeless people, addicts, mentally ill people out in the streets of Denver, doing things that one does while they are, living on the street, which is a very terrible experience that no one should have to be going through. So that's sort of my take on it. What do you guys think about Do Better Denver?
No, yeah. I think I'm gonna just go out on a limb here. I think they themselves could do better.
Facts.
They represent one of my least favorite like subsections of people, which is the type of people who like see a homeless person doing drugs or like experiencing homelessness in like all of the ways that manifests, which is not having access to like clothing or hygiene or like all this shit that like happens when someone is homeless. And they think that the experience of that person being unhoused is negative for them, for the person seeing it. Mm-hmm. That is so fundamentally disgusting. Like it's so antithetical to how I think that you should see someone who's going through that and want to figure out a way to either help them in the moment. And like I might say, like I walk past thousands of homeless people. I think that's just fucking part of the deal. But like either feel some sense of fucking like human empathy for them, or at a bare fucking minimum not develop an entire like apparently pretty large social media presence, like excoriating them as some kind of like unclean other who is representative of some kind of like social or urban decay. It's fucking disgusting. And it's the most HOA brain shit. It's the most like suburban brain shit. And I'm not coming at people who like live in the suburbs as a rule, but I do feel like there's like a contingent of people who like think, oh, cities are gross and terrifying because there's like people who I'm scared of seeing on the street. So I will, run. It's like white flight,
Yes.
So it's learning about this, that this thing exists is, I'm not surprised by it. It's like, I know that there's people out there like this, but it sucks that they were doing all of this. And I think that all of the people who were involved in, like, they call it like citizen journalism, which whatever, don't want to get stuck on that, but like, they're petty and they're small and they're fearful people, and they should feel fucking ashamed of themselves for having the brains that they do. So
absolutely. And like, for them to call themselves journalists is
hilarious.
I like the point that the Denver Post reporter made, which is like, if you're a journalist, you stand on your writing and you stand on the work that you do. You don't get to be anonymous and call yourself a journalist. Because there's no accountability to them. If somebody writes, if an actual journalist writes, a hit piece that's full of misinformation, there's some way to get accountability for that. There's a person that you can go after. There's an editor that you can go after. You can't do that when everybody is hiding behind anonymity. So
no,
and I would argue that sharing videos of homeless people just trying to exist in the world is in no world fucking journalism.
I agree with that 100%, dude. I was gonna say, like, if we think about like what journalism, whatever the fuck it is, and certainly what its like value is, it's like that saying. It's like journalism should comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable, and that's the inversion of what these people are doing. They are being like, I get upset when I see someone panhandling. I get upset when I see someone experiencing mental health because I'm a small and terrified fucking squirrel of a person. And I feel the need to, I like squirrels more. I like these people, to be clear. And I feel the need to fucking broadcast this as some kind of like, yeah, like I feel like it's a lot of that shit. Like all these Democrat-run cities, like look at how these squalor is fucking hellholes. It's like, okay, maybe even if you do think that, your reaction should not be to what? Like, I feel like these people want to put homeless people in camps and get them out of, like, literally in camps and get them out of their fucking sight because they think they're unsightly, not that they're other human beings who need either like personal or societal assistance.
No, that's 100%. If you look at their social media, they advocate quote unquote tough love responses to addiction and mental illness, which literally is just throwing people in asylums where the rest of us don't have to look at them. That is absolutely what they want. They don't care about these people, about them getting better. They claim it's like a very thin veneer where they're like, oh yeah, these people need treatment, but they don't really mean treatment. They mean get these people out of my face, because here's someone experiencing the lowest time of their life, and how can I fucking make it about me? Like, it's so gross. And it's worth mentioning that Trump just came out with an executive order, a week ago, what is time? Basically saying that we're gonna start doing this, that they're, empowering police to start, rounding up homeless people and mentally ill people and involuntarily incarcerating them in insane asylums, which is how we actually used to do things in this country. And I believe it was ended under Reagan, which, like, the thing is that I don't think that that's the solution, obviously, to put people who are, addicted to substances, people who are mentally ill, to involuntarily incarcerate them. But it's like, we do need treatment options for people. It's these people who say this shit like, oh, we need to force them into treatment. I'm like, just question here. Have you personally ever tried to like get a loved one into substance abuse treatment? Because if you have, that like there are often not beds available. So like when somebody wants to go to treatment, there's usually a pretty narrow window where they're like ready and willing to accept the treatment. And it's like, you want to get them in when they say they're ready. You want to be like tire squealing over to rehab or detox. But you will run into the problem of there's no beds available. And by the time there's a bed available, that window is kind of closed for the person, and they're no longer in a space where they're, ready to get treatment. Or you run into problems of like, who's paying for it? Arapahoe House was like the biggest low income or free treatment program here in Denver for a long time, and I believe it's gone now, it's closed now. Or people's insurance won't cover it, or they don't have insurance, or like, just if you have ever tried to get even one person into treatment, that it is not so simple as like, we need to just throw these people into treatment. Like, there's literally not beds available for people who want to go, let alone for masses of people that these do better fucks just want to round up and throw in there against their will. So what they're talking about is just prison. I mean, it's not, they're saying they need to go to treatment, but it's like they just want people to go to jail, functionally jail, so that we don't have to look at them anymore. And it's despicable.
No, yeah, and you touched on it at the beginning when you were saying like the idea that they're even using the idea, like the concept of, oh, we just want them to get better and they're not getting better on the street. It's like, no, you just don't want to, live with what you perceive of as like the psychic trauma of seeing somebody who hasn't showered in 3 days. Like, you don't care about their treatment as a person. Like, you don't care about them getting better. You don't care about them having access to things that they need. You care about like curating and cultivating your environment to meet your hyper specific level of comfort, and discarding everybody else around you that you feel like is interrupting that, which is reprehensible. It's cowardly and it's disgusting, and like, it's just, completely just, yeah, it's and it sucks too so much that like I feel like this was a pretty popular, like, I'm not super plugged into like how far their reach was, but it seems like they were like a large enough presence online that the fucking Denver Post felt the need to like do a piece of like investigative reporting into them.
Yeah, that they've basically, in the article, the Denver Post article, which I do recommend reading, they talk about how the Denver police actually stopped returning their calls, stopped providing them with stats because they were like constantly harassing them, basically, which is like, the police, I feel, to a certain extent, kind of, a lot of individual police anyway are like pretty reactionary and very much in line with this thinking of like, we need to just kind of lock them all up and throw away the key. But even the cops are like, all right, enough is enough. Like, we're tired of hearing from these NIMBYs, which is interesting. I guess also the mayor said that, basically instructed the police to like stop providing them with data. But, the thing that stuck out the most to me in the article was the person who they interviewed, a person who was featured on the page, smoking fentanyl or smoking some kind of drug from a foilie, and just how everyone in their life, all of their friends and family saw this and were calling them, and how they were like so humiliated and like worried about it impacting their future job prospects because this video of them, at their lowest point is out there. And that's just disgusting. I mean, it's like it impacts people's lives, and just to think about how much you're suffering when you're living and sleeping on the street and, doing drugs and not able to shower and, don't have a safe place to go. And then for somebody to just kick you when you're down like this and make you a fucking spectacle for their tens of thousands of followers. It's like, these are real people and their lives are being really affected by this content. And these people are, there's no accountability. So the Denver Post, the Do Better Denver page was screaming, crying, and throwing up in the days coming up, the days leading up to the release of the article, because they claimed that they were being quote unquote doxxed. That's another tangent that people really overuse this concept of doxing, and it's like doxing is actually when somebody's like outing your home address and you're just like a random person and they're doing that on the internet maliciously. I think like if you are going to be running a page like this and calling yourself a fucking journalist, then like, no, you're a public figure now, and the Denver Post didn't publish their addresses, and if they didn't like it, maybe they shouldn't have fucking done this shit. But yeah, so when they outed it's 3 women, and And now the Do Better Denver fucks are saying, oh, these women, they're just contributors to the page, but I'm not buying it. One of those is the main account administrator. Allegedly. I'm calling that right now, though. One of those people that the Denver Post dug up is the main lady. And what was it? Two out of three of them live out of state. Does anybody remember what
I know one of them.
article?
Yeah, at least one of them lives in New Mexico, or had at one point. And I think one of them lives in Arizona too.
And the third one who lives here it doesn't sound like she's as involved in it as she used to be because of their slant towards trying to target undocumented people since the regime change.
Right, which is big leopards eating my face energy, where it's like, oh, so you were fine with it when we were dehumanizing homeless people, people living on the street, but now that we're coming after a group that you don't want to dehumanize and shit on, now it's not okay? Like, how about it's just not okay, period?
Yeah. And I think that's like a... No, I was just going to say that at the end of the article, a person who had been featured on this Do Better Denver account, a woman named Serena Palacios, she says, had little sympathy for concerns that revealing the women connected to Do Better Denver constitutes doxing. Don't dish out what you can't take. Which I think, yeah.
Period. I think... Oh, yeah. I mean, and it's like, of course, these people are fucking out of state Republicans, 2 out of 3. And one of them is a former employee of Colorado Coalition for the Homeless, which makes me want to scream and throw things. And, reminds me of some people I know who, will use the fact that they've worked in a homeless shelter before as like some kind of proof that they are not, anti-homeless NIMBYs. But like, no, you can definitely work in homeless services and still be just like a fucking unbelievable piece of shit. And this person definitely proves that. Like, how fucking dare you? And just the idea that people are, we're making this an individual responsibility thing. Cause it's like, yeah, when I see people living on the street in squalor and suffering, it is offensive to me. It does bother me deeply, not because the people themselves piss me off, but I'm pissed that I live in a society where we have plenty of resources and plenty of rich people, and that we continue to let people live like this. Like, yeah, that's offensive to me. It makes me sick. It makes me sad. Not the people themselves, but the fact that we live in a world that allows this to fucking happen when we don't have to let it happen. Like, that's what should be offending you, not the fact, not the person themselves and the fact that you have to look at them on your, walk over to Starbucks or whatever.
No, yeah, I could not have said that any better. That was fucking this whole thing, and the idea of them living out of state just strikes me as so just bizarre. It's like, how small of a person do you have to be to, like, you don't even, she doesn't even go here.
You don't even go here.
They're trying to be NIMBYs of a backyard that isn't theirs anymore.
It's not even your backyard, bitch. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, like the level of like hate and just fucking like, I just picture someone like peering over their shrub, like measuring the lines of like someone else's property division, be like, that's out of code. I think we have to have a national conversation about Arizona at some point. I don't know if today is the day, because I feel like that requires, but we need to figure out what's going on there, because it's not great.
No.
They gave us Barry Goldwater. They gave us John McCain. They gave us Joe Arpaio. The fucking hate the Diamondbacks.
Didn't they also give us Kristen Sinema?
They gave us Kristen Sinema. They
Yeah.
absolutely gave us
a scourge on the bisexual community, a deep shame in the bisexual community.
I would say a shame to the dumpster diving community too. She gives them a bad name.
Oh, God, no, that's yes, but like what? Yeah, like wait, and one must ask why, if you don't live in Denver, why are you so? First of all, what makes you think you know what's going on here? And
why do you fucking care?
Why do you fucking care?
Why do you fucking care? Why do you fucking care? It's because you just fucking hate the idea that people experience homelessness around you, and it doesn't make any goddamn sense. Like, it's just like, is it a property value thing? Is it is it like just I'm scared of them? It's like, no, I can't say it better than what you said. Kind of like, it's
I think one of them was a landlord too, which certainly fucking
Cool.
tracks.
Good.
Certainly fucking tracks.
Bourgeois.
Like, yeah. I mean, I truly don't dish it out if you can't take it, bitches. You know, and the comments on their social media are wild, and it's like I feel like this happens all the time. Where like I live in an area that people will. You know, yeah, there are homeless people around my apartment building. They're around my community garden. It is what it is. But like, I live over here and I'm fine and I'm out walking around in it day to day. And like, the people who feel the most strongly about how terrible and lawless it is are people who don't live here. They live in Highlands Ranch, you know, and they're, you know, in their fucking Facebook groups bitching about crime that they don't even fucking experience, you know, and it's like, why?
It's that's 100% right. Like, these are the people who, like, on the 2 times a year they like miss an exit on I-25 and find themselves on Colfax. They lock their doors and roll up their windows. Like, that is exactly the kind of person who this is. And like, they very rare, I feel like, if ever, actually like have any kind of actual interaction with homeless people. Like, I think, you know, anyone who spent time in Denver or like in any city in this country, like any fucking town in this country, has homeless people, and like, they are not a threat to your existence. They are people who are in need of, you know, social support, of support from their own families, of support from their communities, that they are, as like, I think by definition, because they're experiencing this, they are not getting the support that they need. So
right. And I was looking at their page. They've got like, one of the things is like adding the Denver police. Oh, look, they blocked my alt on Twitter. I love that. Love to see it. They were complaining about an encampment out on like 40th and something. And it's a bunch of people in RVs, which it's like, I don't like, what do you want people to do? Like, they're, you know, like, where are people supposed to go? It's like, they don't have fucking solutions. That just drives me nuts, where it's like, they're, you know what, people can't even park their fucking RV without you being a hater and trying to get the police to come and move them out of there. Like, fuck off. And I think the other thing that part of the reason that we kind of systematically dehumanize homeless people in this country is because it's very important for us to believe that we could never be that those people, there's something different about those people, something degenerate, something, you know, irrevocably broken that turns them into homeless people. And we are better than that. And that could never be us. But like, let me tell you, friend, it could be you. Like, if you don't have family support, all it takes is, you know, job loss and an illness, and you could end up on the street too. And I think as our economy rapidly, you know, descends into hell, we're going to see more and more people falling off into that. You know, there's a whole bunch of reasons why people become homeless. And you know, we love to tell ourselves that that is completely under our control. And the fact is that it just isn't. So, you know, I think about that a lot, about like, you know, how just how close a lot of us are to homelessness. We're much, you know, we have much more in common with the guy sleeping in a tent on the corner than we do with, you know, fucking Elon Musk or any of these billionaires. We're a lot closer to that than we are to riches. But, you know, the whole American lie depends on us believing the opposite. So, you know.
And it's, yes, like you were saying, like statistically, it's almost impossible to express how much closer anyone listening to this show or anyone who fucking you interact with is to being homeless than they are to being exceedingly wealthy. It's like, I think it's difficult to actually put into words how much closer you are. These people in these who's running these accounts, even if they're like materially comfortable or whatever the fuck, like just because of how numbers work. They're so much closer to being on the street than they are to being a billionaire, for example. But also, and you know, I feel like you were saying, this idea of homelessness happening to people because of some kind of moral failing, and how there are, you know, that's just not how homelessness operates. I would venture to say that there really isn't, like, even if you are a drug addict, you shouldn't be homeless because of that.
Correct.
You know,
Correct.
like that there's really nothing that you could do outside of, you know, fucking capital crimes, or, you know, being a billionaire. I think ironically they're the people who like most deserve to experience this type of hell. But there's nothing that someone could do that would like morally justify them having to live the experience of being homeless. Certainly not fucking having mental illness or doing drugs. Like, that doesn't mean that they should be homeless.
No,
you know?
Right. Nobody should be. And so the other thing is they, you know, argue against housing first. Do Better Denver. They're talking shit about housing first policies, like that doesn't work. We know that it does work. We have data on places that have done housing first. It absolutely does work. It depends on what, you know, how you're measuring success. But if your measure of success is fewer people out on the street doing drugs, then yeah, that shit fucking works. There is data to back that up. And it's clearly that's what they want. They don't want to have to see people shooting heroin and smoking fentanyl on the street. And like, yeah, if you give people a place to go, either preferably with housing or at, you know, minimum a safe use site where they can do drugs, you know, privately, that does get people off the street, because like most people don't actually want to be shooting up drugs in Civic Center. It's just they don't have another fucking place to go. So like that's the other thing. They, you know, they spout a lot of fucking bullshit, like, you know, saying housing first doesn't work. They have nothing to back that up other than their own shitty vibes. And then they also will say all kinds of shit about like the crime rate in Denver and how it's, you know, the highest in the nation and how it's rising and all these things. It's like, you know, we could actually get the statistics for this. None of that is accurate. Like they just pull this out of their ass and tweet it, and then a million other people retweet it because it's confirmation bias and they want to believe it. But like we can actually look this shit up and tell that they're wrong and they're full of shit, but like facts don't fucking matter, I guess. So, you know, I mean, it's just disgusting. They have, I think, yeah, they have almost 25,000 followers on Twitter.
Oh man, that's more than we have on Reddit.
It is. And I think they might have even more on Instagram, because I think they started on Instagram. But yeah, I mean, they have a very big reach. And yeah, they're just do better. Oh yeah, they have 121,000 followers on Instagram. Like that is disgusting. That is so awful. We're cooked. Okay, that, by the way, that RV encampment that they were trying to get rid of was Joliet and 40th, which is like out in like an industrial area too. It's like, what? People can't park their fucking RV in an industrial area and live in it without you NIMBYs out here with your stupid fucking cell phone cameras.
I think we made a mistake as a society by giving everybody access to cameras all the time.
Oh man, it's a double-edged sword, because
I know,
we would have never. Yeah. It also helps us film the police, and you know, film all kinds of things that need to be brought to light. But generally, I do agree that I do not like the trend of random people filming other random people and making them famous derogatory on the internet. It's not good, and we, you know, shouldn't participate in that kind of shit.
I think we should do better.
I think we should do better too.
I think we should
fucking do better.
Yeah.
So that's,
fuck those guys. Anyone who is involved with Do Better Denver, anyone who is involved, who follows it or likes it or spiritually supports it, fuck you and the horse you rode in on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was an interesting article though. Shout out. I mean, like, I think, you know, I think it's worth. I think we should do a whole episode, which is like a joke at this point. How often we say that about shit, but we should do a whole episode about the Denver Post in particular. But you know, shout out when they do bring interesting things to light.
They do occasionally write a good article.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
We love that.
Denver Post W.
We'll link it in the show.
Exactly.
Notes. What do we got coming up for the week ahead?
Kind of all the regular shit. The Jeanette Vigil will be tomorrow night. Um, the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Rally on Saturday. The Peace Vigil for Palestine on Saturday. I think the Tesla takedowns we might just be down to the Littleton location as an ongoing thing. So I think the other two have kind of petered out at this point. There is another anti-Palantir protest happening on Tuesday at 12:30 at Skyline Park. The Democratic Socialists of America Denver chapter is launching an anti-Palantir campaign, like a push Palantir out of Denver campaign. And this is like the public like starting point for that. So
Nice.
yeah, I think that's pretty exciting that we're gonna now have another organization out here organizing against Palantir. As we've talked about, Palantir is instrumental in the genocide that is happening in Palestine right now, but it is also instrumental in ICE being able to track undocumented people and the government being able to track protesters and political dissidents. And this is a very evil company that we all need to be very vocal about because, like, fuck these guys.
Fuck these guys. Get them out. If you work for Palantir, get a new job, dude. Get a new job. Come on. Get your life together.
Yeah. But then, like, as far as protests this upcoming week go, not much. Pretty quiet week. I do want to highlight that there is what is being called the Really, Really Free Market is happening this Saturday, August 9th at Commons Park. It is a true bring what you can, take what you need event. They're not accepting any cash for anything. It is just do what you can. They're asking for people to bring food, clothes, zines, art, jewelry, household items. If you can provide a service like bike repair or haircuts and you feel like doing that, they're asking for that kind of support too. But yeah, it's exciting to see where this could potentially go. This is the first time they're doing this, I believe. And I think it's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool.
It'll be from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Sorry, I forgot that
awesome.
part. And they're looking to do them every second Saturday. So I guess we'll see how the first one goes, and then hopefully they can continue going, because I really think mutual aid like that is going to be really instrumental. Going back to the meat and potatoes part of the episode, Do Better Denver also likes to shit on mutual aid groups who do things like weekly feeds for our unhoused comrades. And it's like, that's actual tangible work. Like, they're putting supplies in people's hands, and they're putting food in people's bellies, and they're creating temporary housing situations for people via tent donations and camping donations, and it's just social networking. And like fuck Do Better Denver for that shit.
Right, definitely. And this kind of thing, it's so cool because it's like, we all have stuff that we don't need. And, a lot of us are in the mentality of like, go dump it off at Goodwill or the Ark or whatever, which if you're going to take it to a thrift store, take it to the Ark, not Goodwill. Goodwill's trash.
Please.
But it's like, that if you're going to give it away anyway, why don't you just give it directly to a person who needs it? And we don't have to like have a third party that's like making a profit off of it. And it also has the added benefit of building community a little bit when you like get to actually see the people that are taking your stuff and, make a connection with them and, see them get excited about the stuff that you don't need and maybe get some stuff for yourself. It's like, that's great. Like, that's how we start building connections and community, which we desperately need. And that's what's going to get us through the hard times that I suspect we have coming ahead, is taking care of each other and, you know, repurposing and giving shit away. So I love to see that. I hope it takes off.
Yeah. And just while we're on the topic of mutual aid, I would really like to highlight some of our local folks doing that work. Probably the most known one in the area is Mutual Aid Monday. They do a weekly feed and supplies on Monday nights, and that's down near Civic Center Park. We usually have unhoused people hanging around there, just living there because it's a just central location in the city. There's also Lunch Punks, who I think they do weekly feeds on Thursdays. I might be wrong about that though, but look them up on Instagram. Pretty cool people. There's Denver Food Not Bombs. And then like there's a whole like network of groups that do this, and it's just a lot of affinity groups. Like it's not like big organizations that are doing these things. It's just people coming together to serve their community. So like you don't even have to join one of these groups. You can just get like 5 friends together and cook some food or make some sandwiches or go buy food. Like go buy meals from Popeyes and go find people that need food and, you know, create that community and do that work.
Absolutely. You can just feed people. You
Yep.
don't need anything. You
Don't
can
need
just
permission.
don't permission, and, you know, don't let anybody tell you that it's bad or illegal. Just go out there and fucking take care of people. That's the vibe.
Even in the places that they have fucking made it illegal to feed the unhoused, fucking do it anyway. Like
Do
fuck
it
those
anyway.
laws. That's bullshit.
Break those laws. That's the fundamental tenet of my anarchism, is take care of people and don't let anybody tell you that shit's illegal. So
yeah,
we don't care about that. Is saying that it's illegal to feed people is a abhorrent, immoral law, and we don't fucking recognize those laws in this house. I don't care who hears it. Feed people, damn it.
Yeah. And then I know, AJ, you had some information about an upcoming Pride event that you wanted to share.
Oh yeah. Yeah, shout out San Luis Valley Pride coming up August 23rd. So I guess 2 weeks from now. No, 3 weeks from now. Down in Alamosa. I just know that when back in Pride was happening up here, there were some folks sending out information about that. So I bet that would be a fun time. Any opportunity that we have to shout out what folks are doing there down in the SLV, I think we take the opportunity to do so. It's coming up August 23rd.
Totally love it.
I love that. Yay for gay.
Yay for gay.
Also not happening for a few weeks. Out on August 29th, a coalition of groups being spearheaded by Aurora Unidos is hosting a protest to mark the anniversary of the Chicano moratorium, which was an anti-Vietnam Chicano movement. And, you know, they're just trying to tie the past of their community forward into what's happening now, as we see, you know, brown people are being disproportionately targeted by ICE right now. And it's a protest to call for a stop to the deportations without due process, to end the GEO contract at the facility in Aurora, and you know, just to really highlight the fact that nobody is illegal on stolen land. And this did not start now. This is just another domino in the fall towards fascism.
Yeah. We definitely need to shout out our weekly sponsor of this episode. So this episode of the Denver Protest Podcast is sponsored by the campaign to re-elect Mayor Mike Johnson. Johnston? Is it Mike Johnson or is it Johnston? Because I know one of them is the mayor of Denver, and then one is like the reactionary Speaker of the House.
We really need to
So-
get the mayor's PR people on his name to make it more distinct.
So re-elect Mike Johnson. Mike Johnston. Mike Johnston. He's white, mediocre, milquetoast, painfully mid. Thank you for supporting the Denver Protest Podcast, Mike Johnston. Okay. All right.
Love it. It's been a while since we had a sponsor.
I know.
Our Soros checks were floating us there for a while. But
yeah, I know. Yeah, we're
That's
so hit us up if you want to sponsor the podcast.
Do people still talk about Soros checks? I feel like that's a grossly outdated reference.
It's an outdated reference. Yeah, I know.
Definitely do. Which is
They don't even know who George Soros is. These motherfuckers. I don't know.
He's
whatever.
Jewish, so obviously he's bad, right?
He's like the one. He's like a liberal Jewish billionaire. So they gotta do something with it. I guess I'm still waiting on all my Soros checks from 2020. When they come in, I'm gonna be rolling in it. So anyway, hope you guys have a good week. Get out there, feed some people.
Follow us on the Discord. Join the subreddit, Denver Protests, r/Denver Protests, Denver Protest Discord. We're also on Threads, Blue Sky, this
Instagram.
Instagram.
And
links to all of those can be found at denverprotests.com.
denverprotests.com. All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Official.
All right, y'all.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.